welcome back to A Better World. This is your host, Mitchell J. Rabin, and we're very glad you're joining us again today. Today we're going to have another very interesting show. We are on the west coast of Florida on location, and we're seated with the author of this book, the co-author of this book, Angel Speak, the book of prayer and healing, and Angel Speak Again, how to speak with your angels. You know that on A Better World, we look to bring forth what is the latest in awareness, in consciousness, in cutting-edge thinking. And the work that Trudy Griswold has done in this book with her co-author Barbara Mark has helped to elevate the thinking and the considerations, the paradigm, if you will, raising the bar for people to understand and relate to the angelic realm, which has always been spoken of in our cultures, indigenous, European, and elsewhere, for literally thousands of years, some representation or another. But they've brought this into public display, public parlance, if you will, and made it sort of immediate and available in a way that really anyone can so-called come out of the closet if they had feelings about being in touch with the angelic realm here through the work that Trudy and her sister have done, bringing this into public conversation. Well, they've done a lot to open this up and have people be able to reach into themselves in this different dimensional way. So for this, we wanted to have Trudy on the show to talk about what this phenomenon is really all about. In fact, Trudy has been on such shows as Good Morning America and other PBS specials that have highlighted the subject of spirituality, consciousness, and the angelic. So we're very glad to have Trudy on with us today to talk about these subjects that are very much on the minds of so many people. So, hi Trudy.
Hi, how are you, Mitchell?
Excellent, excellent.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, it's really my pleasure. I feel that, as I just was saying, you have really helped to open up the public conversation through your books that have been widely acclaimed, internationally read, and appreciated. And I feel like you've lifted the cover off a subject that has been near consciousness but slightly below it. But you made sure that it's now open.
You're right, absolutely. So many people have been working with a divine group of helpers and beings for years and had no idea that that was maybe the conversation they were having in their heads or an experience that was going on in their lives. And after reading Angel Speak, they'd say, oh, that's who that was.
Right.
Or that's what was going on.
Like a confirmation of something they felt.
Yes.
But tell me, I want to just kind of step out of the assumptions therein and just be perhaps even a little bit more scientific, just to see what your understanding of this phenomenon is. Everyone has voices in their head. It's just part of life.
That's right.
And some people call it God speaking. Some call it their, angry younger or older sister, or mother, or what have you. Freud calls it a superego.
Yes.
There are so many different names and titles. Sometimes it's considered highly sane in some cultures, in others it's considered pathological.
Yes. Absolutely.
So how do we distinguish between these varying voices of being originating in the angelic or being something, let's say, more mundane?
There are so many helpers that are in spirit, that are always with us, that were assigned to us. For example, we do have spirit guides, we have master teachers, there are archangels, angels. I refer to whatever loving, supportive, helpful voice, energy, knowing that we are receiving. I just generically refer to that as our angels. However, some people say, like you're asking here, how can I tell if it's the good guys or maybe the bad guys or whatever? We all need to learn to listen to our inner guidance, our inner voice. And one time in a writing that I received from my divine group, as I call them, they said, now be sure to do your spiritual work from the neck down, not the neck up, because your brain does not know your purpose, your mission, why you're here on this earth plane, but your soul does know. And you can find your soul and your inner voice and your knowledge somewhere on your being. So I always tell individuals, yes, we get lots.
Think from your neck down.
Think from your neck
Basically.
down. That's a great way to just have people always remember that. And if it feels right, if it feels good, then that is from a support group of the highest nature. But if it's not right for me, I get a knot in my stomach, or I get a sense of, whoa, something's not quite right here. And that always comes from my inner knowing.
Interesting. So let's say then on one level, Trudy, that it's an interpretation that really serves one. That as we're alive and we call ourselves spiritual beings in the first place, it would then make complete sense that whatever communications are occurring internally have a spiritual or sacred nature.
Yes.
So, in fact, what else could it be? I mean, even if we refer to a thought as a bioelectrical event, which it is, a biophotonic event, all of that is still spiritual by definition anyway.
You're right.
Once you've interpreted your life as spiritual.
Yes. So many people get caught up
Doesn't that make sense?
It makes total sense. Absolutely. And people get caught up in, well, who's speaking to me? And where is it from? Who is it? What are they really meaning? You know, if you learn to listen to that sense of this is so right, or this is what my belief is, or this is my inner knowing, because our soul has all the knowledge it will ever need from its prior, our prior lives and on into what our work is and where we're headed, that we really do have such an elevated knowing that we have to learn to trust that more and more. So you're right. It's not about where, when, who, and how. It's more about this is correct for me. This is right, and that will elevate your consciousness and all of our consciousness to a point where we can really get into why am I here? How can I make a difference? What's my life purpose, and where am I going?
The bottom line is that if we practice what you're presenting in your books and the whole concept of angel speak.
Right.
The worst case is that we become highly self-aware.
Yes. I like that, Mitchell.
Right?
Yes.
It's sort of like, why not interpret your life to be a certain and life experience?
Yes.
The phenomenon of voices and promptings, urgings, feelings in this angelic light. And so the bottom line is that you will become highly aware of what's going on inside.
Absolutely. And the wonderful thing too is that as we get to be more familiar with the teachings and the knowing, the beautiful part of this is you can walk forward on your path knowing that you are being guided. I do not hear words, by the way. I don't hear voices. I have a sense of knowing. And I just know what I know. Don't know how I know it. It's there. So someone who's just written 4 books with their divine group and has never heard words being spoken, I just wanted to bring this up because it's important. I would say out of the thousands of people that I have taught how to get a written communication, I would say 98% of them do not hear anything.
They don't hear anything.
No. And so if you...
So the communication is not occurring linguistically?
Not, for most people, the answer is it is not.
Is it imagery?
It can be pictures. It can be knowing. It can be that, kind of like when you have a grocery list. You think, well, gee, I need eggs. That just pops into your knowing, so you write it down. or I need bread, whatever it might be. So if people can learn to listen to that inner knowing, I call it, they're right on alignment with their divine group.
So it's almost that the energy of knowing is present
Yes.
prior to the word, but you are given
Yes,
a word.
you are given a word.
X, or what have you.
Exactly. And another good way to get going is because this divine group that's around us and teaching us constantly, they love us so unconditionally that I always say to people, say a little prayer in the beginning that just wraps you in the love and light and invites them in. You know, we all have free will, so that opens the door to the free will. And then just the simple, so say for example, your angels might say to you, dearest Mitchell, we love you and then just keep writing whatever pops into your knowing. Simple as that. So it is so simple that some people have said to me, now could this be really them, or could it be that easy? And the answer is yes, it is that easy.
What about a case, just to go over here for a moment, someone is emotionally traumatized at an early age, and they have inside themselves, Trudy, they've internalized their mother's voice, who is saying, don't do that, and don't do that, and you know you shouldn't, blah, 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 blah. And it shows up in their dreams, and it haunts them in a way.
Yes.
And it happened that it's repeating because the child was so vulnerable and open to the impression. As we know, the whole system works like this.
Yes.
So later on in life, they're hearing the echo of that voice. How you would not say and call that an angelic voice.
Absolutely not. And if you ever do receive something that is less than loving, then you know it's either your inner grumpy voice or your mother's voice or whatever.
Say it, let's say, on a persona level.
Yes, yeah. And if it comes through anything other than loving and supportive, then you don't have a hold of your divine group. Maybe you've got this other inner voice that can throw you off track.
I got it. Okay. So you have certain discerning parameters, so to speak, about what's what.
Exactly.
And who's who
yes.
in the larger hierarchy.
You know, and I figure it's very fortunate. Some of the greatest learning I've done with regard to who I am and areas that I need healing or growth or moving forward into the next step of my life work has come through this process of learning how to communicate with my divine group that will always give me that loving, supportive information. And then I go, well, wait a minute, I'm hung up on something here that I need to look at that. If it comes through anything other than what I know to be correct.
Well, the fact is that we have our entire cultural history is utterly, really riddled, if you will, with images of the angelic.
Yes.
Our entire biblical history and culture and beyond, even in the shamanic, there's always this extra-dimensional, interdimensional domain of communication from above, from a higher level, from a more refined spirit level. And it is loving, and it is cushioned in the unconditional.
Well, the four major religions of the world talk about the God's helpers, God's messengers, the angels. Some people have said to me, well, gosh, are you trying to idolize these helpers? And the answer is absolutely not. I respect everyone's religious belief. And whatever your belief is, hang on to that. That's your foundation. That's your strength. And your God is your God. But also know that God did assign this magnificent group that their job is to work with us. And we're so well cared for and helped and loved.
What about the question, it's a very good point, what about the question that arises sometimes in my mind of Why hang out with angels when you can go directly to the source?
Sure, absolutely. You know, first of all, we always pray to God and ask God for whatever it is that we would like to attract or become or have in our lives. But then you have to believe and trust that God is always there, always listening. But God also does send groups to work with us and
Yes.
help. And then step 3 is, then once you start receiving the help, let go and allow them to be in our lives. And step 4 is to say thank you. So the angels have said to me, ask from your intellect. They say that is the place where you're thinking about what you would like to have, but believe in your heart that if you are meant to have what you are asking for, if it's part of the bigger plan, or when the time is right, it'll be there, then let go from your solar plexus or your gut, because that's where we want to hang on and, block things sometimes. And then back up, you say thank you to your divine group. So it's a beautiful flow of knowledge and healing and support and
Yes.
guidance. Talk about being well cared for.
Yeah, right.
It's remarkable.
Well, it's like a cosmic loop.
Yes, it truly
and
is.
Using the different centers for their different functions.
Exactly. And the fact is, some people listening might think, oh, this is nothing new. This I've known through other studies or other work.
You're right.
Yes, yes. And the good news is that one time I said to the angels, well, let's why don't we come up with something that would be the newest thing on earth or whatever? Couldn't you give a teaching that way? And they said, child, there are only a certain number of truths that are here on our earth and in our universe. And when we try to complicate things, we're moving further and further away from God. Remember, keep it simple, seeker. And I love that. I thought, right. And it's so true.
At least they're still kissing.
Yes, they are. And the point is, no matter what's going on in our lives, when we try to complicate or when we get afraid or over the top on something, that's when the difficulties begin to arise.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Isn't that true?
Yes.
You have received letters from all over the world, Trudy, in response to your books and your TV appearances and everything else. You have an abundance of. What are 1 or 2 of the stories that you have heard from people that have particularly moved you?
I got a letter from a man named Bill M. in Edinburgh, Scotland last week. And he had taken a package from his company. He was an engineer. And he said, I took a package 3 years ago because I knew in my heart I had to do it.
A retirement package?
Retirement package. Okay. And he said, I knew that I was on the next road to my life work. But he said, you know what, Trudy? It's been almost 3 years. Nothing has happened yet. And I don't know if I'm crazy or if I misunderstood what happened. So I wrote him back and I said, one of the greatest teachings that we have to embrace is that everything is according to the larger plan, God's time frame, not Bill's time frame. And that you have to know that there are other areas of your life that possibly you needed some healing, some knowledge given to you. You must be patient. The angels kept saying, you must be patient. Well,
so you tuned in a sense?
Yes.
For him?
For him. And I said, they are saying to you, you are not crazy. It was a correct message. You got a correct answer. You did the correct thing in your life. However, tell me, there's something else going on. And he said, well, let's see, I've gone to school and I've learned how to become a Reiki master and I've been doing meditating and I've taken up yoga. And you see, he was preparing for the next phase in that 3-year time frame. So I think that the reason they've brought that up is that we have to know that nothing is by accident. Everything is happening according to a larger plan. That there are times that we do have in our mind what's the best step, but it always is up to the universe to show us the way. So just know that God never gives half a gift. this is one of the favorite things that they've said many times. If they've offered this man a package of retirement, that God will not drop him flat, or the universe won't say, whoops, we made a mistake, that there always will be the next phase and the next area of his life to open. So we're well cared for, and we're very much loved.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. That's
Yes.
quite a package.
Yeah, quite a package. And of course, I get so many beautiful messages of people so much happier in their lives as to, my new life that I have, and the word is spreading, and I'm so happy that I have a way of validating through the written message what's going on in my life. And people from all over the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that is really a very powerful function and role that you have played, as I was saying at the beginning, of helping to validate people's experience. Because if one is a spiritual being, that means virtually everything going on in one's life is of a spirit nature,
Yes.
of a spirit origin.
Yes.
It's just that living on this particular horizontal plane, and with the way life fleshes out in our given societies that are secular, in a sense, by
Yes.
interpretation, one doesn't ordinarily then refer back to a sense of inner spirit
Yes.
for what it is that's going on. But in fact, the word mundane, which I know I used earlier, or the word profane, distinct, say, from sacred, are really misnomers.
How
They
true.
actually really don't exist.
That's
It's
right.
just that when things become repetitive in our lives, we tend to say, oh, it's just that. Oh, here we are in Florida. It's just another beautiful, glorious day. There's nothing ordinary about it.
That's right. You are so right. And that elevation of consciousness, awareness, and loving life as it is at every moment.
Yeah.
That sounds maybe a little Pollyanna to some people, but the fact is, we're all very blessed to have our support and the love and the guidance. And where I used to live in fear a great deal in my life, worry, oh my goodness, what I worry. And one of the greatest gifts at working with my divine group is they have truly taught me that there really is nothing to worry about. Now, I have to do my part. I have to write the books. I still do my appointments with people and all of that. But the fact is, I do know that if I move forward on my path doing the next steps, that the right people, circumstances, or events will come into my life at the right time. And that there is no need to worry, truly. It will work out.
From the larger point of view, Trudy, when you look around at the world that is largely involved in one level or another of suffering,
Yes.
not only in the depths of Africa and India and elsewhere where there is rather extreme material poverty,
Yes.
not always spiritual, and even next door, where people are arguing about petty types of things, and disagreeing, and there's suffering. There's a level of suffering that is just kind of endemic in our society at large. What do you feel could help? And this is also being expressed socially, economically, and politically in our world, where various screws are tightening. The quality of our lives in some ways are being reduced through a material interpretation of reality, and largely based on fear, this whole thing with, kind of the terrorist archetype, which has been brought in to govern people's thinking in the media and all over the place. We're under a certain yoke, a certain energetic yoke, if you will.
Yes.
I'm curious to hear what you have to say about the role of your work in neutralizing or in relating, let me say, to these forces.
Learning to keep our balance in our body, our mind, and our spirit is so vital. And when we work on ourselves individually, we can change, of course, the world and how it feels and thinks. The collective unconscious is so alive today with so many souls, so much goodness going on. I can control my thinking, I can control my belief systems and how I work in the world. So I encourage everyone to think about, how is this going to make a difference in my life and ultimately in the life of others? Mm-hmm. So we do have choice. We do have ways of shifting our belief system, whether it's who we hang out with, what books we read, what shows we watch on television. It's all very simple little things. They say it's the little things in life that make the big difference.
Sure.
So yeah, there's going to be a lot of negativity on the earth plane, and it is getting better. Life is changing.
Well, I'm heartened to hear all of that.
Yes, yes. And we all have a choice.
And we all have a choice. So
yes.
If the collective is to improve,
yes.
it will improve. If the collective does not go that way, it will go in another direction.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. It's up to us.
It is.
This is just something, people believe in just God descending and fixing everything. I think it's actually a very infantile belief.
I agree.
I think that God said, you do it.
Yes.
You're my messenger. Well, I don't mean just you.
Right,
I mean
right.
you collectively.
Yes, I agree. And I believe that, that people are so afraid of all that's happening on the earth. And I think it's all that's happening within us individually. And sure, there are lots of things going on. But we can all support and love ourselves first, the angels say. That's our job, why we came here.
Voila.
And then love one another. And
exactly.
We're on our way right now with changing.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
In short, what we've got, Trudy, is an outpicturing of the inner story.
You got it. That's great.
And of course, your work so well dovetails with what has become so popular now, which is the universal laws, and in particular the one regarding the law of attraction. Yes. So I see your work as so applicable because when we imagine and allow the angelic inside ourselves to represent us and be our guiding voice, then the attraction of what is angelic will be in the palm of our hands.
Beautifully said.
So on that note.
Thanks so much. That's great.
I'm so glad to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for your good work.
You bet.
This is Mitchell J. Rabin for A Better World. We've been seated with Trudy Griswold, the author of Angel Speak, several books, a series on speaking with the angelic. Thanks so much for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you all next week.